Welcome back, y'all. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. It's Tuesday, so we'll be taking a look at our offense versus Florida's defense. Of course, this is a big rivalry weekend. We need to win this game. I'm going to be honest with y'all out the gate. This does not look like a good matchup for our Volunteers with the way that our offense has kind of been sputtering over the past couple of weeks. But before we get into the video, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That does us a really, really big favor. It helps to push our video out to more Vol fans or Florida fans, whatever types of fans just like you. So please do us a really big favor and make sure to do that. Before we get started, also want to send a really big shout out to all the members of this channel. Y'all are keeping us going. And if you would like to become a member, if you would like to get access to the film breakdowns or just support this channel, you can do so by clicking on the join button just below this video. Also, really big shout out to everyone that is donating to this channel. You can donate by scanning the Cash App QR code wherever it is on the screen. It will also be a link for it down in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, let's take a look at these numbers real quick. I'm not going to go through each individual stat, but y'all can see it. So if you just want to pause it, if there's something that you want to get a closer look at, that's perfectly fine. So starting off with the total offense, Tennessee's ranked number 5, and Florida's total defense is ranked number 96. Scoring, Tennessee's ranked number 5, Florida is ranked number 74. Passing, Tennessee's ranked number 47. Florida is ranked number 81. Rushing, Tennessee's ranked number 5, and Florida is ranked number 101. This is a spot that a lot of people are kind of pointing to. I think that this is a little bit misleading with these numbers. We'll talk about why here in just a second. And now third down, Tennessee's ranked number 25, and Florida's defense is ranked number 107. That's another really big edge for Tennessee. On down to the red zone, Tennessee's ranked number 50, and Florida is ranked number 63. That one's kind of close. Turnovers, Tennessee's ranked number 47, and Florida is ranked number 111. Now let's take a look at Florida's key players on defense, starting at the top with Jordan Castell. He's number 14. He is a safety, listed at 6'2", 210 pounds. He's a sophomore. He has 24 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 pass breakups on the season. Now that 1 sack would probably stand out because you think, hey, that came off of a blitz, but it actually didn't. He just does a good job of coming down and making plays close to the line of scrimmage. But they will also blitz him, and I think he does a really good job of getting pressure on the quarterback. But he looks good in coverage. Primarily, he's going to be kind of like that free safety, roaming around, making sure that everything's clean on the back end. And he has really good hips. He has good speed. He can get there, man. He makes plays, okay? Like we talked about, comes downhill. He tackles well, takes really good angles. But he can also play man-to-man coverage, okay? He's going to have really tight coverage, breaks up on the football well, all those types of things. He's probably going to be their best secondary player. But really, everybody that I've watched play, and I've watched all their games, all of their guys look good in man-to-man coverage. Their coverage is really tight, really sticky. I think that could pose some problems for Tennessee in this game. But it all is going to start with Jordan Castell. Now, the next player is going to be Grayson Howard. He's number 10. He is a linebacker, listed at 6'4", 238 pounds. He's a sophomore. On the season, he has 24 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 fumble recovery. So him and Jordan are going to be tied as the leaders in tackles for this team. But he's a guy that plays more of that Mike linebacker role. And yeah, he can play sideline to sideline too. You see how big he is, but he does a really nice job just of being downhill. He gets off blocks very well, whether it's, with his strength, with his speed, with some of his quick twitchiness, all that type of stuff. I think that his linebacking core could potentially be the best that we've seen so far this year. It's very close with Arkansas's, but I would say that maybe I give the edge to Florida because it just seems like their guys are a little bit bigger, but they're going to play with that same speed. Now, the problem with these linebackers that we're going to be talking about today is that they can kind of get thrown off with some of the misdirection stuff. They just want to get to the run so quickly that they can just kind of like guess wrong. Their eyes can take them to the wrong spot sometimes. So that's the only knock that I have with all these backers. But Grayson Howard is really good. Next player is going to be Tyreek Sapp. He's number 94. He is a defensive end. He's 6'3", 272 pounds. He is a redshirt junior. On the season, he has 20 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about Florida's scheme on defense here in just a minute. He's not one of those stand-up ends. He's more of like a 3-4 type of an end. But, man, he does a really good job in run support. I mean, he can get off blocks well. It's very twitchy. He can either beat the blocks, again, with his strength or with his speed, and he can get after that passer, I'm telling you, on a really, really high level. All these guys that we're going to be talking about today, in my mind, they're all NFL caliber, and obviously Tyreek Sapp is no different. I think that he could potentially be a first-round guy, but Florida's got dudes up front, okay? Just make no mistake about it, and Tyreek Sapp is most definitely one of the dudes that they have. The next player is going to be Shamar James. He's number 6. He is a linebacker, listed at 6'1", 229 pounds. He's a junior. He has 22 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and 1 interception. He's going to be more of that will linebacker. You see him unblocked a lot. He's going to roam free. He looks good in coverage. He's really, really fast. I mean, he's very twitchy. Again, man, he can beat the blocks with his strength some, but it's going to be more about beating it with his speed. And I think that, whereas we talked about with number 10, his eyes can kind of take him to the wrong spot. With 6, it's even more of that. He really falls for that misdirection. As soon as he sees run, he's boom. He's going quick. So that's something that hopefully Tennessee will try to use against their linebackers in this game. But both of these linebackers that we've talked about today, we're going to have to get a hat on them for the most part if we want to be able to run the football as consistently as we've seen some of these SEC teams have so far on Florida this season. Now, let's go on to the last player, Caleb Banks. He's number 88. He is a defensive tackle, listed at 6'6", 325 pounds. He's a redshirt junior. His numbers aren't going to wow you. Only 8 tackles and 1 sack. But make no mistake about it, whenever we're talking about dudes, this is a real dude. I think he's got top 10, top 5 potential in the NFL draft. He doesn't always play up to his ceiling because I don't think he's always playing with that high motor, but whenever he does, doesn't matter if you single team him, double team him, triple team him, he is going to get off of those blocks. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he's very twitchy. I've seen him throwing offensive linemen, to the side with one arm, with his weak arm. He can do it all, man. He can get after that passer too. So hopefully he won't be that motivated in this game, but he's a guy that I could most definitely see Tennessee kind of struggling to block on the interior of our offensive line. We'll probably need to try to dedicate 2 bodies to him, whenever he is in. The problem with it is Florida's got so many dudes up front that it's going to be hard. I mean, we can't double team all of those guys. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the scheme here in just a minute. First, let's take a look at Florida's pass rush grades, or not really their pass rush grades, but their pass rush numbers from Pro Football Focus. Y'all know that we don't really look at those grades. So up at the top, we've got Caleb Banks, who we just talked about. He's number 98. He's had 76 pass rush opportunities. From that, he's got 1 sack, 2 hits, and 5 hurries. So he's winning at a 5.6% clip. The next one is going to be George Gums. He's going to be number 34. He will be more of that stand-up edge rusher that Florida likes to use. And I almost put him in my key players, but I didn't just because I had to fit Caleb Banks in. But he's also really good. He's not going to be necessarily, I wouldn't call him a dude, but he can get after that passer. He's not that strong at the point of contact, whenever he's setting the edges, things like that. So he has had 71 pass rush opportunities with 2 sacks, 1 hit, 3 hurries, and he's winning at a 7.7% clip. Next, we're going to have Cameron James, number 24. He's going to be another one of their edge guys, and he's had 70 pass rush opportunities with 6 hurries, so he's winning at about a 6.3% clip. Next, we have Tyreek Sapp, and we've talked a lot about him already, but he's going to be number 94. He's had 73 pass rush opportunities with 3 sacks, 1 hit, and 6 hurries. He's winning at an 8.8% clip. I think that y'all are starting to kind of get the point here. Cameron Jackson, big number 99. He plays in the middle of their defense a lot at nose tackle. He's had 64 pass rush opportunities with 3 hurries. He's winning at a 5.1% clip. Right here, we've got TJ Searcy, number 19. He's going to be another one of their edge rushers. He's had 58 pass rush opportunities with 4 hurries. He's winning at a 5.5% clip. So y'all are kind of seeing what's going on here. And big Desmond Watson, I don't know how much he weighs, man, but he's well over 450 pounds. He might be close to about 500. He also plays at the nose. And the crazy thing about it is, as big as he is, I've seen him be twitchy, man. I mean, he's got some good twitchiness, especially with his hands, not so much with his body moving, but man, he uses his hands very, very well. He's had 50 pass rushes, and he has only gotten in 1 pressure, so he's winning at about a 4.2% clip. So, we could go on and on and on. Let's talk about Shamar James. That's going to be their linebacker. He's number 6. That's the guy that I said he's more of that will. And he's had 23 pass rush opportunities with 6 hurries. He's winning at a 13.6% clip. Let's talk about the other linebacker right here, Grayson Howard. He is number 10. We also talked about him. He's had 15 pass rush opportunities, and he has 1 sack, 1 hit, and 2 hurries. He's winning at a 14.3% clip. So their linebackers, man, they're very, very effective when they blitz or just when they're pass rushers, period. All right, now that we have a pretty good understanding of how Florida looks on paper, let me tell you what I've seen on film. First and foremost, their scheme on defense will be a nickel base, and it's going to be very similar to how ours is, where it's kind of like a 3-3-5, 4-2-5 hybrid. All that means is they're going to have 4 players up front, but one of the guys is going to be kind of like a stand-up in, almost plays like a linebacker. They're going to rush them, okay, I would say most of the time, but they will also drop back into coverage. Now, with all that being said, Florida could come out and play that 3-man look. like we've seen over the past couple of weeks, whether it's a 3-3-5 or it's a 3-2-6. I think that Florida has the best personnel to run that we've seen so far. We talked about that last weekend versus Arkansas. We said, well, Arkansas's personnel is going to be better to play this than OU's was. Now we're saying that Florida's personnel is going to be better than Arkansas's was to play this. So what does that mean for us? Okay, first and foremost, right? They've got dudes up front that are dudes. They're big. They can eat up blocks. They're going to be good to stop the run, but they're also twitching enough that they can get after the passer. I think especially versus our offensive line, which we'll get to here in just a minute, with just 3, but they can also blitz. They've got linebackers that can play out in coverage. They're pretty big for the most part. They're long, they're fast, they're physical. And then their secondary, all those guys, exact same thing. Big, fast, long. They're going to be great in man-to-man coverage. So all those things could definitely present several problems to Tennessee's offense. Now, people are going to say that the answer to all of that is going to be to run on Florida's front because other teams have had success doing that so far this season. I would say that, number one, right, let's just talk about the teams that have had success running versus Florida's front. We got A&M, right? A&M ran for 310 yards, I think. But they did that running off tackle and running to the outside. And Tennessee doesn't do a whole lot of that. And really, if you look at those 310 yards, probably about 280 of those came off tackle or to the outside. Tennessee likes to run the football right up the middle. That's about 95% of what we do in our running game. Now, the other team would be Mississippi State, who runs the exact same offense as Tennessee does. But, they run it a little bit different. I would say that they are a lot more creative with how they run it. You'll see several different sets. They'll run bunch. They run a whole lot of motion. You'll see more jet sweeps. You'll see more read options. So Mississippi State was able to run for, I think, 240 yards on Florida. And I would say that a lot of that actually came in between those tackles, how Tennessee likes to run. But the thing about it is, okay, they were able to find that success because they had wrinkles off of it. Whenever you think about Tennessee's offense or any offense in general, think about it like a tree where there's the trunk of the tree, which would be the base of our offense. Then there's all the branches and limbs that kind of comes off of it, which would be like the counters to, what people want to, show us, different looks and all that type of stuff. You just have to have some wrinkles added in on top of the base. So far this season, really for the past couple of seasons, Tennessee has been operating off of the trunk of our tree, off of the base of our offense. There hasn't been enough wrinkles added to it. So with Mississippi State throwing those wrinkles in there, kind of showing the counters, all the eye candy that Florida's linebackers will fall for, they were able to find the openings up the middle of Florida's defense. So if Tennessee doesn't do some of that, it's going to be very tough to run up against Florida's front. And I mean, if you don't think that that's true, you can go back and look at A&M, who's played up against Florida and Arkansas. And A&M's offensive line was able to move Arkansas's offensive line for most of that game. Tennessee really didn't move Arkansas's offensive line. And, A&M has some trouble actually moving Florida's defensive line. So the whole point is this, man. The guys that they have on the inside are big. They're fast. They're strong. They're twitchy. It's going to be the best, interior of a defensive line. Maybe, probably the best defense. It's really going to be the best team on paper, just as far as talent goes, period, that we've seen all year, but especially up front. So Tennessee's going to have to mix some things up. Nico's going to have to use his legs. I need to see a whole lot more read options, things like that, man. We need to run more motions. We need to do some shifts with our formations. Just try to throw off what Florida's seeing. We can't just come out, try to go fast. Hey, this is what we're in. Might be one quick little motion. It's just going to be a fake, it's going to be like a little RPO. Ball either comes here or it's going out, to the flats on a wide receiver screen. We got to get a lot more creative, not just with running read options, but also with the way that our RPOs are set up. If we could, hey, it's a run option here and we can maybe pass it down the field some, that would be huge. And I'm not here to, try to be the coach of the team, but I'm just telling y'all some stuff that's very, very obvious whenever you're looking at it on film. It's very basic stuff that Tennessee can and should do in this game if we want to find success, especially being able to run that football. It's not going to be, hey, we're just going to line up versus Florida's defense and run it right at them. Inside zone, inside zone. I don't think that that's going to work by any means. I just don't think that our offensive line will be able to push those guys nearly enough. Now, let's talk about Tennessee's offensive line because obviously we've had some trouble over the past couple of weeks, maybe really even throughout the entire season, some things that we said, we got guys out here and there. That's the reason that it doesn't look as good as it should. But last weekend versus Arkansas, we got everybody back. we'll talk about John Campbell first at the right tackle. He's a guy that's kind of playing through that injury, or not really the injury, but playing through some soreness, playing through some pain. So thank you for that, John Campbell. He just last weekend was not playing up to the standard. Okay. I think that Dane Davis, whenever he got his opportunities, he looked really, really good. Now let's talk about left side. Okay. Lance Hurd, he comes back after missing 2 or 3 weeks, wasn't in shape to kind of start the season off. And because he, missed several games, now he's even more out of shape. He hasn't really been doing anything. He looked really, really bad last weekend versus Arkansas. And if he comes in, I would say give him maybe that first series, maybe not. I would test him. Like you should be able to test him in practice and tell what kind of shape is Lance Hurd in. If he's not in shape, okay, either coming out of practice or in that first series, he needs to come out. Like we shouldn't have to slow down our tempo so that he can catch his breath. That's just not going to work, okay? It's just not. So listen, Larry Johnson, he looked really good versus OU. He looked really good to me. So I trust him a lot more than what Lance Hurd showed us last weekend. What Lance Hurd showed us, I don't know that we get any worse than that from any of our tackles. So at this point, man, the staff has got to step up and say, I don't care how much you're getting paid. Okay, I don't care, how much we said that you were going to be starting. There's still a certain part of the bargain that you need to live up to be able to play. And that doesn't just go for the offensive line. That goes for everybody. If players are not playing up to the Tennessee standard, we've got to put in some players who can and who will moving forward. Or, man, all the effort that we put into this season, all the players who came back, for their 5th year, for their 6th year, for their 7th year, however much, right? The players who came back to win a championship, that's going to be off the table if we can't take care of business this week. So pull out all the stops. So that's going to be first and foremost. Okay, we need for our offensive line to whoever's out there, whoever that starting 5 is going to have to be playing up to the Tennessee standard. Now, I also think that we'll probably try to run some more 12 personnel just to get some more bodies in there to help us block and things like that in that running game, because again, it's so important, for the rest of this offense. But, I don't think that it should just be necessarily this bunch 12 personnel. We need to be able to spread that 12 personnel out and be able to throw out of it. We can't just get stuck into the same formation because we're going tempo. Within our tempo, if we're going to run the tempo, we need to switch up the formations and stuff on every single play. See, that's when it becomes deadly, because whenever you come out and it's pretty much, hey, look, the field is spread out. We might switch up a couple of things, but the field is essentially just spread out. So the, principles for the defense are still the same. That's not really doing much of anything, because you're still just, hey, we're going to stay deep. We're not going to let them, throw the football deep. Safeties are going to be coming up quick. Secondary players are going to be coming up quick if we see run action. No, we need to get different sets, different formations. So the staff has got to show a lot more creativity from top to bottom for this offense to find the success that we should versus this Florida defense. Now, let's talk a little bit more about our passing game. It sounds like maybe Brew, it sounds like he might try to go, but I don't know if he's going to be physically able to. We know how much of a dog he is. So he doesn't want to miss, but he might have to. It's a very, very long season. We're going to need you later on in the season. Squirrel White doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go. So guys have to step up. Mike Matthews, we hear so much about him. Let him play, coach. Throw the football to him. He's done a great job every time that we've ever watched him play. Okay, he scored in every single, scrimmage that we've had the entire year. I think he's scored in every game that he's played in, hadn't he? I mean, put him in the game and let him go to work. He's a dog. We see all these other freshman wide receivers doing a good job. Put him in. We also still have Caleb Webb, who we haven't seen enough of this season. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but just as far as preseason stuff, he looked good. Chaz Nimrod, he's looked good. Probably going to be getting the start at the slot. So, that makes us a lot bigger on the outside. And then also, man, we got guys like Braylon Staley, Nathan Leacock. We've got wide receivers. It's not the end of the season because we've just got a couple of guys that are down. We got plenty of bodies. And I can also tell you this, wide receiver really is a dime a dozen, especially if you have a good offensive scheme. Our scheme is made it looks like, hey, if you're not, Calvin Johnson or Randy Moss, you ain't going to have a whole lot of success in this offense, but that's due to the play calling. It's due to how we are just kind of like running our scheme. Man, run some rub routes, okay? Get some people open. Give me some double moves. Give me some quicker passes. There's so much that we could do that we're just not doing. So things just need to get opened up from that perspective. Use the running backs out of the backfield more. Let them run some wheel routes and get down the field. We're not using them enough, I don't think. So there's just a lot that there's a whole lot of meat that we've left on the bone that I think that we could find some success with passing wise. Now, whenever you talk about the different types of coverages that Florida's going to be playing, they're going to run a whole lot of different coverages. It's mostly going to be, cover 3, cover 1, cover 4, especially I think versus us, we'll see a ton of cover 4. But, I've also seen them run some stuff that I don't know exactly what it is. You know, like we'll just say it could be maybe like man-to-man coverage, and there could be a safety from the opposite side of the field that will come and play like an underneath coverage on, you know, on this side of the field. And typically, you know, those types of coverages that they're running, it's kind of based off of the team that they're playing up against and their tendencies. So I've seen some teams where, you know, maybe they like to roll out to their right, and they would play a coverage like that just to kind of shut down everything that that offense is doing. So while I can't necessarily put a name to that coverage, and I think that it's more like just based off of the team that they're playing, yeah, it can definitely present some problems because it can maybe throw a quarterback off. But that goes back to Tennessee's scheme. We've got to be able to kind of scheme people up. And what, you know, I've seen teams have success versus those types of coverages whenever the quarterback can kind of extend those plays and the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs are working in that scramble drill and just finding the empty spot in that coverage and getting open and the quarterback finding it. So this is going to be another game, man, that Nico, I mean, he's going to have to play better for sure. Everyone needs to play better than we did last weekend, but hopefully he plays with a whole lot more confidence. I also want to just kind of bring this up too. It sounds like he can make some shifts and things like that. He can make some changes as far as who's picking up who on blitzes, you know, things like that. So I want to see him be able to ID where all the blitzes are coming from. And like, let's just say if Florida ends up bringing 7, we only have 6 in to block. Well, that 7th guy is going to be on Nico. So he needs to kind of identify some sort of a hot route. We need to have some more hot routes to get people open versus those blitzes. There's a lot of things, right? And there's just so much that needs to be added to this offense. And I hate to say it, but it just kind of feels like, you know, like a 6th grade offense that, you know, or I would say maybe like a high school offense that's being operated on like a 6th grade level. You know what I mean? Like that's how it's felt. We got to open everything up. And if we open things up, then we will find success versus this Florida team. We're going to get their best shot. I can promise you that. And I think that from top to bottom, they can stop what we like to do, especially if it just stays very, very basic. But, you know, I would definitely have to anticipate that this week, I mean, things are going to have to change. And if they don't, then this is not a game that Tennessee is going to have very much success with on offense, especially. And we could end up losing again. And this time it would be at home. And now all of a sudden, the train is off of the tracks. And I mean, who knows where we go from there. I'm not saying that that is going to happen. I'm just saying that that's the possibility if things don't get opened up. I don't think that we can have success versus this Florida's defense or versus Florida's defense, just kind of playing basic offense like we have this whole season. But those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours down in the comment section. Thank y'all for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.